Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Blockrunner, MetaZone, Roby, and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about the death of Ordinals. What's up, I-Man?
What's up, dude? Death of Ordinals, death of potentially me if I don't recover.
Yeah, we're taking the COVID precautions here, and it's raining like cats and dogs. So,
Yeah, man.
I guess it's all over here. That's what Twitter
Correct.
tells me.
Yeah, we're gonna pile onto this bearish sentiment a bit, just because this is what people like to do, I guess. When squiggly lines go down, it's like everyone's losing their financial future.
Their college
It's
funds are decimated.
correct. Yeah, like I guess I can't get married this year.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll never financially recover from this. You guys, fuck you, block runners in particular, for getting me interested in this space.
Yeah.
So we have to address these concerns, right?
Yeah.
This seems to be like a periodic exercise. Maybe like every 6 months or so, we enter like a little micro winter.
Yeah.
So it's like a readjustment, a recalibration moment for us to kind of get our brains wired properly to not be so emotionally tied to the squiggly line. So luckily for us, we're veterans, right? So we don't make that mistake anymore, right, Will?
No, definitely not. We're that meme. We're that meme that in that roller coaster where that guy is on that going up and down, and he has like no emotions.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even though you live in that state
Perpetually.
No matter what. Independent of squiggly lines.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, so to summarize,
a huge advantage, actually.
Say that again.
So that's actually a huge advantage in a lot of cases,
Yeah, but you know what? As much as I'm like that roller coaster guy, I do get emotional with these lines as well, but in the macro sense, like in a larger scale, not like in these like micro winners like you were referring to.
Yeah.
But
so let's take this moment then to kind of again, recenter our bearings and understand where we are as as an ecosystem, as developers, as community members, whatever. And again, take pause to reflect, in other words.
Yeah, and so just to summarize the sentiment, I have a tweet here by DJ Bubblegum, and he says, "I'm so happy that I didn't tell my followers to buy into this Ordinals crap and Bitcoin crap and runes crap, because look at these pictures. You see? I was right. Don't get into this stuff, guys, because the squiggly lines are on the way down." Yeah. And then, we were talking earlier about how, when you're looking at a chart, this 2D chart, the squiggly line can either go up or it can go down, but it's not a reflection of the actual value that particular community brings. So I don't know what people are expecting, number to only go up, and that's it, or what is happening? Like, why the sentiment change?
Yeah, I mean, it's just normal human psychology stuff. So we always preach the same gospel anytime these incidents occur within these markets that we're paying attention to. It's like these are actually the blessing in disguise moments, right? Like this is where all the extra noise is kind of settled a bit, and you're actually able to focus and identify where the real substance is being developed, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I probably said those exact same words, I don't know, 8-9 months ago, actually longer than that ago, right after BRC20 hotness, and everyone was like, okay, now what? And then that's when Bitmap emerged, right? We were able to find that and galvanize a community around this whole idea of a non-arbitrary metaverse, right? And that was very exciting. And as a result of that, there's a whole ecosystem emerging from it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so in these situations where you're feeling a little bit down, you see all your financial future just disappear within a blink of an eye. What are you supposed to do, I-Man? So Beto has a shot here. Is basically just zoom out. Let's look at everything that has occurred on this human timeline. We go back all the way to 1837 with the mechanical computer. Imagine if we were in those times, I-Man, and I was so bullish on mechanical computers.
Imagine. Imagine.
Yeah, and so we quickly go through this timeline, and all of a sudden it's 1984 with the Macintosh, and then 2007 with the iPhone, and then we have Bitcoin, and then everything that's transpired since then. 2017 with NFTs. And then
Yeah.
finally we get to the black line here, which is Ordinals, January 2023,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that's occurred. So um, if you zoom out, you get to see like all this activity that's occurred, and it's hard to be bearish
Mm.
on this stuff. At least at the point in time where in this like macro cycles that we're in the middle of, like we're on the
Mm.
uptrend. We're trending upwards, right? If you zoom out. And so,
Yeah.
and that's like the point when you feel down, zoom out a little bit and just take a step back to see where we're actually at.
Beautiful. Well said, dude. I feel completely at ease now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that graphic was intended to do, right? It's like you just put the squiggly lines down for a bit and then, yeah, actually analyze and observe the timeline of events and,
Yeah.
get a sense of progression out of that. And
Yeah.
then you can start to, visualize what the future has ahead of us, right? And get excited around that
Yeah,
and
exactly.
potentially contribute towards that end, right? So
Yeah.
that's where we like to. So,
Yeah, especially if you do nothing, nothing happens, right? That's like the big revelation here. So if you're down, start building, right? And then you'll be contributing to that sentiment picking back up, right? That's the whole point of this. Speaking about sentiment picking up, we got a Trevor tweet here. It says we're witnessing a great reset in the Bitcoin ordinals market. A bunch of new people came in January and February, and most of them were probably disappointed that Runes wasn't not an overnight success, and so they
mhm.
left. But the devout ordinals enjoyers and true believers aren't going anywhere. In fact, they're bullish than ever and accumulating. Survival of the fittest always comes after the peak of inflated expectations, which is interesting because a lot of these inflated expectations came from Trevor and Leonidas, but you can't blame them for everything, right? This
Yeah.
reset just means that the market is shifting to the projects with the tightest communities who are adding value to their holders. These projects won't just survive, they will thrive.
Correct. So that's the hidden blessing that I was referring to. Like is you're actually much more capable of identifying what are those tight knit communities that perpetually create more
Mm-hmm.
value, right? From within.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really hard to find that whenever like everybody is, you know, shouting as loud as they can from the rooftops, like that, they're building the next reinventing the wheel.
they're
Like
reinventing
everybody
Disney.
seems.
Yeah, so you still there, I-Man?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah, just making sure. So
Okay.
we're dealing with like a storm issue out there. But yeah, you're right. Ultimately, it's like when everybody's shouting from the rooftops, like you're saying, all caps on Twitter, it's like we're building the next Disney. It's hard to
Mhm.
really find the substance. And so when things quiet down, people feel a little bit more bearish. The projects that still
Yeah.
continue to deliver and create stuff, like that's where the value is. And that's the whole point of this is like, and that's why you and I enjoy the bear markets a lot because only substance like comes to the top, right? Because people are still building stuff and we like
Correct.
seeing the new stuff. So, all right, moving on here. So let's take a look at ord.io and let's look at the runes situation. First thing I noticed here when you showed this to me, I mean, is the holder counts are mind-boggling numbers.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty high. I don't know if I would categorize them as mind-boggling.
Well, mind-boggling for Bitcoin, I would say.
Yeah, I guess from like a fungible token standpoint, protocol standpoint on Bitcoin, there aren't BRC20s, I guess, is closest to having this amount of, I guess, viable holder count.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
don't know how else to say that. So yeah, but if you actually do it, half of these were airdropped, right? So
Yeah, so kind of like exactly. The first half, like anywhere from runes, the first one to what is it, Gob?
mhm.
Yeah, those were essentially airdropped. Everyone else had to do some work to get their claim.
Yeah, but still pretty sizable chunks of people like involved in this ecosystem, even though it's been like on a cratering kind of like feels like down only spiral.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I feel like it was a much needed like I don't know decompression, I guess, because of all the pre-runes hype. So this is kind of like why we've largely just kind of not even paid attention to what's happening in runes.
Yeah.
last like month and a half or whatever, because we knew it needed like a cooldown, like steam release
Yeah.
moment, right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of filter out all the noise, all the bullshittery that comes along with like too much hype,
Yeah. That's
right?
right.
Now it feels like that noise is settled. Now we could actually take a look and see if we can identify any real value in that space, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now's the time, right? If you're bullish on runes, this is the time to look into what's happening. And so like we were saying, this holder count is no joke, right? That's a lot of people holding it. Now, many of
Yeah.
these people don't even know that they're holding it for a large part, right? And these others had to do some work to hold, so these might have some value in it. So something to look at. All right, let's move on here. All right, we're going to this tweet here. Bitcoin runes total market cap just broke $1.5 billion, which is not nothing. And
Yeah.
we're looking at $1.5 billion. When we discovered BRC20s, they were at $20 million, and they ballooned in about a month to like $1 billion, and then that was
Correct.
like its local top. So this is a pretty good starting point, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's pretty significant considering like runes is probably at like its peak bearish sentiment, and we're talking 1.5 billion of market space, market cap.
Yeah,
Yeah. Total market value for like something that's resulted in massive bearish sentiment. So I mean,
yeah, yeah,
if this is the bottom point for runes, then the top end, euphoria of it. Who knows what's going to actually be the catalyst for that? Nonetheless, I mean, we're talking significant market value, right?
yeah,
And it makes sense because it plays along with the whole thesis of, it's on Bitcoin, right? So it's got to be huge.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, Bitcoin right now is a $1 trillion market cap, so a billion is like nothing.
Correct. Yeah. So like expecting this to one day result in like 100 or $200 billion market space for developers,
Yeah,
it's not far-fetched at all.
yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah, I agree. Agreed. Yeah, and then SMB is coming in. Two upcoming fundamental triggers for tsunami of new participants in the Bitcoin ecosystem for dog getting tight between resistance and uptrend in a few days. So we got meme lines, and if it breaks upwards, then it's probably going to trend upwards. But there's probably going to be significant resistance here for a little while until the sentiment really picks back up, and then you're going to see a breakthrough.
Yeah,
But
but speaking of shouting out from the rooftops, definitely, dog has been like the Trojan horse attempt, right? To really try and captivate interest into this runes space.
yeah,
So it potentially is a catalyst if it can manage to like break through this resistance and enter into price discovery mode, play along with all the other memes that are out there capturing people's attention. It's like, hey, don't forget about us rune boys,
yeah, yeah.
like the something significant, right? So definitely something worth paying attention to.
Yeah, speaking of something to pay attention to, CoinList will open up the Bitcoin ecosystem for the TAP token to a huge new audience. In 2023 alone, CoinList added 500K new KYC users. That's huge. It's like
It's insane.
100,000 users per month. That's a lot of people to be added to something like CoinList, like Launchpad.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine like this cycle's ICO run or whatever, what it's gonna look like. If there's
Yeah,
that many people kind of already KYC'd, ready to go, ready to participate, right?
yeah. Non-Americans, non-accredited, or yeah, accredited investors, I should say.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. But we cannot forget about BRC20, Layer 1 Foundation, in coordination with Domo Data, Unisat Wallet, and Best in Slots. They have a swap module integrated for BRC20
Yep.
token standard. So that's something huge that everybody's been asking for like a year now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like we're saying about runes and stuff, it's actually showing some signs of life and potential like upside momentum kind of like being pent up, right? So what does that mean for the other fungible token protocols? I mean, they need to kind of demonstrate something native to their protocol that like runes, at least for now, cannot,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of distinguish themselves and separate themselves and attract new developers, new users, yada yada yada. So yeah, I mean the pressure is definitely on, I think, for BRC20 to kind of deliver something, right? So the swap module
Yeah.
is pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Being able to swap tokens is going to open up liquidity opportunities for these tokens. And Atomicals still coming in with some updates. Atomicals virtual machine white paper has been released, and it's called the Smart Contracts on Bitcoin by Simulating the Bitcoin Virtual Machine.
Yeah.
So this is interesting just because there is a very passionate dev that we've spoken to, on the podcast before, and he's very, very bullish on AVM that he's been talking about for a couple of months now. I think he even mentioned in our podcast, which was a good few months ago.
Oh, that was a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now that the white paper is released, I'm going to dive deeper into this because I'm interested to see like what this is capable of. Because if we can start do programmability on top of Bitcoin, like this is huge.
Correct. Yeah. So it definitely warrants us reaching out to A for another follow-up interview. Because yeah, I think it was probably like 9 or 10 months ago when we first spoke to him.
Damn, that's
And
crazy.
yeah, I know time flies, right, dude?
Yeah. I can't believe it.
But that's a long time to be working on this, but for good reason, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of, other neighboring protocols to runes and ordinals and stuff, like everybody is, has to really show their best faces at times like this, right? Because this is where developers are kind of like gauging their options as far as like where do I want to kind of like dedicate my focus, right? What do I want to do? Do I want to build under the tap ecosystem umbrella? Do I want to build like a runes project?
Yeah.
Atomicals, BRC20, there's too many options, right? So you got to really deliver something substantial, right, to stand out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's why I'm excited to kind of dive deep into like what is happening with Atomicals, especially with AVM, just to see like I think this might be a platform to build on, but it's one of those things where you got to really do your research.
Yeah, and potentially like whether it has the superior technology frameworks or not, it's always about the invisible hand, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Will the market react and respect and will demand build for that or not? And that ultimately that's the final arbiter of like
Yeah.
which of these protocols have any value or not.
Yeah,
You know?
because history has told us the best technology doesn't always win. It's the technology with the
Yeah.
most traction, the most users, the most kind of like
Correct.
people with like just traction, just usability, right? And so that's what wins. So, but yeah, we got to take a look at all the technologies. Speaking of other technologies, Track. Finally, their validator presale. We've just published our latest Medium article, which provides details of the Track validator presale. It talks about how to participate, price of validators, the benefits, and when. So this is interesting. So I guess this is a mechanism. We go a little bit deeper into this, so that they can allow the community to like host a lot of these nodes and get compensation for it. And
Yeah.
But in order to do that, it costs money up front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn, I'm hanging on by a small electrical thread here, dude. My lights just flickered twice, just letting you know.
Oh wow. And you still got connection, dude. All right.
Yeah, I'm still here, just letting you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, back to track and tap because we've been kind of waiting for this for a while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, absolutely.
rewind a year ago, dude. Like when oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Whenever track first came out, and Benny was just kind of like he had this great idea, this great vision, and he was solving a huge problem for the native to ordinals, right? And the big question mark in our head is like whether or not they would actually be able to execute specifically on this portion of like properly distributing the validation mechanism for this entire network.
Mm-hmm.
Something as critical as indexing, right? And we kind of had some reference points with like the graph and
Yes.
chain link like that. Like these are achievable,
Yeah.
but it's very difficult to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely. And so they have a bunch of partners. Foxy, recognize those guys. Spooky, Launch Punks. So there's a couple of participants here. And then finally, we have here an ecosystem validator. So just more like an explanation of what this ecosystem validator does, how it works, pool share, all the details here, deposits.
yeah, they're trying to get everybody involved, whether you have like a large capital base so you can like scoop up these validators or small and you just want to enter a pool where you're getting like some sort of perpetuity of like ecosystem rewards, basically native tokens for other projects that are deploying
Yeah.
under the tap umbrella. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's a nice little, mechanism to get the community like basically perpetually involved in like the upkeep and maintenance and the like I guess the integrity uphold of the data
Mm-hmm.
reliance of everything, right?
Yeah,
So
which is huge. You don't have ordinals without indexers. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You cannot do this on chain. You have to have like people hosting these servers, and those servers need to be able to pull block data into a package called an API, so that developers like us can use those APIs, so that we can show verification of like mints, right? So you cannot do this any other way, right? So this is huge. This is very important.
yeah. So good news for the entire DMT ecosystem because where that is like the foundational backbone,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, for all of it. So yeah, I mean, Ordinal's sentiment might be down, I guess, from an outsider perspective. Maybe even some people within the community
Mm-hmm.
also feel down on their luck. But again, this is a moment of time to kind of like exercise your like mental fortitude
Yeah.
and just again not be too emotionally tied to a squiggly line. If you are that emotionally over leveraged to that,
Yeah.
you've made some mistakes along the way for sure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
some,
Another thing is like critical thinking. Like you need to go back to fundamentals and just realize like what is important in the space, right? And look for that and see where that is like in the squiggly line arena, and then make your bets there, right? So but that's it for us. If we miss anything in like ordinals, something else popping in the ordinal space that we didn't mention, let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.
peace.